Have you ever felt like you were running endlessly on a treadmill without knowing where you were headed? Every morning you wake up trying to do more, work harder, stay up late, rise early, take notes, make plans, work nonstop, only to reach the end of the day and feel like you're still standing in the same place. If so, I want you to pause just for a moment, because what you're about to hear is unlike any advice you've ever received. I'm not here to tell you to do more, try harder, or push yourself to race against time. On the contrary, I'm here to show you why doing less is actually the most effective way to achieve more in your work, in your life, and in every area that truly matters to you. There is a truth that most people either don't realize or don't want to admit. The majority of what they do every day doesn't yield meaningful results. They are busy but not productive, exhausted but not progressing. They fill their hours with tasks that seem right but don't actually create real change. And that's where everything begins to fall apart. But you're different, because if you're reading these words, it means that some part of you has started to question, has started to wonder, is there another way? The answer is yes. And it begins with a simple yet profound principle, the 80/20 rule. This principle says, in most areas of life, 80% of results come from just 20% of the effort. In other words, only a very small portion of what you do each day is truly driving the majority of your progress. The rest, your time, energy, and effort, is being drained by things that don't matter. Meaningless meetings, conversations that please others but leave you drained, tasks that make you look busy but don't move you forward. Now imagine if you could clearly identify the exact 20% that creates 80% in your life, and then you focused all your resources on them, cutting out the rest. What do you think would happen? You would start to notice that time seems to slow down, your mind becomes sharper, everything feels easier, and your results far exceed anything you've achieved before. You'll realize that you don't have to sacrifice your health, your time, or your happiness to be successful. You don't have to run or strain anymore. You just need to do the right things and do them with intention. That's when you begin to live by the 80/20 principle, and from that point on, everything begins to change. I'm not sharing this with you as some abstract theory. This is real experience proven by millions of people, from entrepreneurs to artists, from athletes to ordinary individuals seeking freedom and efficiency in their lives. They didn't do more than others. They simply chose the right things to do at the right time for the right purpose. And I want you to have that too, because you deserve it. You deserve a life where every morning you wake up with clarity, with purpose, with the confidence that you're on the right path. You deserve to break free from the chaos of busyness and step into a state of focus, effectiveness, and peace. You deserve to achieve extraordinary results without sacrificing yourself in the process. But to do that, you must stop and begin to see everything from a completely different perspective. You must start by asking yourself, among everything I'm doing, what truly brings the greatest value? You might realize that 2 out of 10 weekly tasks contribute most to your success. Maybe just 3 of the dozens of relationships you maintain are the ones that truly uplift your spirit and push you forward. Perhaps it's only a few small habits, like journaling, exercising, or reading, that are making the biggest difference in your life. And once you see that, a new door will open. It is the door to a life that is efficient, intentional, and strategic, where you get to choose how to live instead of being swept into a whirlwind of meaningless activities. That's when you begin to master yourself. And when you master yourself, you master your life. In the next part, I'll guide you deeper into this journey, where you'll learn how to identify the 20% that creates 80% in your own life. Step by step, I'll show you how to analyze, choose, and eliminate, how to free yourself from the noise, how to upgrade yourself without burning out. But first, remember this: you don't need to do more. You just need to do better. And I'm here to help you do exactly that. From this moment forward, I want you to pause, look within, and ask yourself honestly, Am I truly living in alignment with what matters most? If the answer is no, then congratulations. You're about to embark on a journey where every step forward will count. And it all begins with one principle: do less, achieve more. The moment you realize that not everything you do holds equal value is the moment you begin a profound journey, a journey to uncover the 20% that creates 80% in your own life. And I want to walk that journey with you, because this isn't just a work strategy. This is a way of living, a way that frees you from being drained by trivialities and allows you to devote your full energy to what truly matters. But to live this way, you must first know exactly what is worthy of your focus, because if you don't, you'll get swept up in what others deem important, and one day you'll look back and realize you've lost yourself. So how do you discover the most vital 20%? How do you distinguish what truly creates meaningful impact? Which relationships help you grow, and which habits move you forward every day? That's exactly what I want to explore with you in this section. Not through ready-made answers, but through deep, guiding questions that help you reflect inward. Because only by listening to your own life can you hear the voice that truly leads you toward transformation. Let's begin with your daily work. What do you typically do each morning? Your to-do list might be long, but if you look closely, you'll find that just a few tasks, only a handful, actually generate significant results. It might be writing reports, strategic thinking, client care, or making high-impact decisions. The rest, checking unimportant emails, scrolling through social media, attending unnecessary meetings, only make you feel busy. But here's the truth: being busy doesn't mean being effective. So I want you to dedicate a day, just one day, to observing yourself. Record everything you do from morning until night. Then at the end of the day, circle the tasks that genuinely made you feel like you progressed, like you added real value. You might be surprised to find that most of your time was spent on things outside that circle. Don't be discouraged. That doesn't mean you've been doing it wrong. It simply means you're about to do it right. Next, look at the relationships in your life. Who are the people that uplift you every time you talk to them? Who gives you valuable advice or simply shows up with warmth when you need it most? On the other hand, who constantly drains your energy, even unintentionally? Who makes you feel small, invisible, or judged? Of all the people you're connected to, only a small few truly matter. And I want you to begin identifying them, because you don't need many people around you. You just need the right ones. Take some time to write down 3 names, 3 people who make you feel grateful that they exist in your life. 3 people who, with just a message, make you feel more like yourself again. These are the relationships you must nurture. You don't need to see them every day, but you need to invest in your connection with them, with sincerity, with quality time, and with quiet presence when needed. These are the ones who belong to your most important 20%. They don't just bring joy, they anchor you when making life's biggest decisions. Now turn to your activities. What do you spend your time on after work? How do you relax? What is it that when you do it, your spirit feels restored, your mind becomes clearer, and your energy returns? Maybe it's a gentle workout, an inspiring book, or music that helps you breathe more deeply. Maybe it's sitting in stillness or writing down your thoughts in solitude. These small acts, though simple, are your 20% that keeps you calm, clear, and alive. And finally, I want you to remember this: all those little things, the tasks that create real value, the meaningful relationships, the soul-nurturing activities, they all share one thing in common. They make you feel like you're living in alignment with who you truly are. They don't exhaust you. They don't require you to pretend. They don't demand you to strain. On the contrary, they return you to the strongest, clearest, and most authentic version of yourself. So starting today, take one concrete action. Write down 3 tasks, 3 relationships, and 3 activities that give you the most value. Just 3. Keep it simple. Then ask yourself, how can I spend more time on these? How can I prioritize them each day instead of being swept into the trivial When you do that, you're not just lightening your life, you're giving it focus, depth, and purpose. Because life is not defined by how much you do, but by the impact of what you choose to do. And I believe you are wise enough, brave enough, and aware enough to choose what's best for you. Not everything, just what truly matters. And that's how you begin a new way of living, one where you do less, but achieve more. A life where you no longer move to the rhythm of the world outside, but live in tune with the true beat of your own heart. A life where you center yourself around the essential 20% and let it carry you farther than you ever thought possible. There's a truth most of us already know, but few have the courage to face. You can't do everything, and you don't have to. Yet somewhere along the path of growing up, we were taught that success means relentless hard work, filling every moment of our day, taking on every task, every role, every responsibility, until we find ourselves exhausted, hollow, and with nothing left to give. If that's how you're feeling, I want you to know you are not alone. And I want to tell you something important. It's time to pause and let go. Letting go doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're giving up on your dreams or your goals. Letting go, at its core, is a powerful act. It requires the courage to face the reality that some of the things you're doing simply aren't bringing real value. Some of the relationships you're holding on to aren't bringing joy. Some of the habits you maintain aren't good. They're just familiar. And if you want to step into a new chapter of your life, you must first lighten your load. You have to clear the space. You have to leave behind what no longer fits so you can make room for what is new, bright, and deeply aligned. Think of your mind as a room. If it's cluttered with old, unused things, you'll have no space to welcome anything new. If every day you pile more and more unimportant tasks, scattered thoughts, and draining interactions into that room, you'll feel overwhelmed. And that overload slowly eats away at your creative energy, your focus, and your confidence. But if you dare to clean it out, if you're ready to leave behind the 80% that doesn't serve you, you'll discover something remarkable. You don't need more to live a meaningful life. You just need what's right. So how do you begin to let go? I don't want you to do this rigidly or in a drastic way. I want you to treat it like a ritual, an intentional act. Start with the smallest things. Look at your to-do list. Which tasks are you doing out of habit, obligation, or fear of disappointing others? Which ones drain you but don't truly take you anywhere? Cross them off. Not everything is important. And you don't need to do things just to prove your worth. You already have worth, even when you're doing nothing at all. Next, take a look at how you spend your time. Are you pouring hours into social media, email, and repetitive meetings? Are you often saying yes to invitations you don't actually want to accept? Are you constantly replying to messages, answering calls, and tending to things that aren't urgent just because you're afraid of seeming irresponsible? If so, remember this. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying no to something truly worthy. Your time is finite, and you have the right to choose. I know letting go isn't easy. It's tied to fear. Fear of missing out, fear of judgment, fear of being left behind. But I want you to understand, it is only when you dare to let go that you truly begin to move forward. Change begins the moment you have the courage to say, I will no longer let the old hold me back. And I believe you can do that. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest with yourself. If you're ready for that shift, if you feel something in your life needs clearing, then let me know you're here. Leave a comment below. I'm ready to let go and renew myself. You're not writing that for me. You're writing it for yourself as a declaration that you've taken the first step, a truly important step, toward living with intention, clarity, and simplicity. And when you write those words, you'll feel an extra ounce of courage rise in you. I want you to know that letting go is not a loss. It is a deep form of choice. And in a world where everyone is trying to hold on to everything, the one who chooses to release is the one who leads. You can choose fewer tasks, but ones with meaning. You can choose fewer people to keep close, but ones who make you grow. You can choose fewer goals to pursue, but ones that truly bring you happiness. Letting go is how you reclaim clarity. It's how you cut through the noise to hear your inner voice again. It's how you return to your core values, where even just one right thing can be powerful enough to transform your entire life. And I don't say that to spark a fleeting burst of motivation. I say it because I believe each of us holds a fire within that longs to be released. But it can only burn brightly when it's no longer buried beneath what's unnecessary. Give yourself that chance. Choose to live with less, but with more depth. Choose fewer things, but choose with intention. And let this act of letting go be the beginning of a new chapter, the chapter where you're no longer ruled by everything, but instead start to take charge of yourself. That is something you absolutely deserve, and that journey begins today with you. If right now some part of you feels stirred, if you find yourself quietly nodding to what has just been said, then I invite you to leave a small but meaningful sign below. I'm ready to let go and renew myself. Not for me, but for you. It's a quiet vow to yourself that from this moment on, you're no longer living on autopilot. You are choosing again. You are reclaiming control. And I will read every comment with deep appreciation, not to count numbers, but to feel that you are truly present here, with an open heart, with the courage to change, and with a deep desire to live a life that is truly worthy. Because what you've just done is not small. It is the first step in a rebirth, a quiet act, but one of great significance. You are cleaning from the inside out, making room for a stronger version of yourself to emerge. And your journey, the one toward a life that is clear, simple, meaningful, and intentional, is only just beginning. What I will show you next isn't just another method. It's a new way of living, a way to reorganize your time, your space, and your energy so that every moment you exist holds real value. No more waste, no more detours, only full presence and purposeful progress. But before we move forward, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, close your eyes if you wish, and gently whisper to yourself, I don't need to do it all. I only need to do what truly matters to me. And I will do it with clarity, with faith, and with love for my life. And if you truly feel that, remember, one right thing is enough to change everything. And you have just taken that first right step. Don't underestimate it, because it's from moments like this that a whole new life begins. Time is the most equal asset that you and I both possess. Everyone has 24 hours a day, no more, no less. But why is it that some people achieve so much, go further, and live more fully, while others constantly hustle yet see little result? The answer isn't in working harder, sacrificing sleep, or grinding to exhaustion. The difference lies in something simple yet profoundly powerful. They manage their time. Smart time management doesn't mean squeezing more tasks into an already overloaded schedule. It's the art of choosing the right things to do at the right time, with the right level of investment, and most importantly, in alignment with your long-term goals. When you understand that not all tasks hold equal value, you stop trying to do everything and begin focusing on the actions that create the most impact. That's the core spirit of the 80/20 principle applied to time. 20% of the right actions will generate 80% of your most valuable results. Start by reviewing your day. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, what have you done? How much of your time went toward tasks that truly matter? Things that contribute to your goals, your quality of life, your long-term development. And conversely, how much time was spent on trivial conversations, pointless meetings, non-urgent emails, or mindless scrolling through information that has nothing to do with your life? The truth can be uncomfortable, but if you're honest enough to look directly at it, you'll see that most of your time disappears without bringing significant value. That's why you constantly feel short on time, out of control, and lacking progress. Smart time management is the act of reassigning value to every moment you live. First, identify your peak focus hours. For many, this is the first 2 to 4 hours of the morning. Reserve this golden window for strategic tasks, creative work, or key decision-making. Don't waste your prime hours on replying to emails, tidying your desk, or small talk. Your best time deserves your most important work. Next, learn to prioritize, not based on emotion, but based on the true value of each action. One effective method is the Eisenhower matrix, which divides tasks into 4 categories. 1, important and urgent, do them now. 2, important but not urgent, schedule them. 3, not important but urgent, delegate or hand off. And 4, not important, not urgent, eliminate. Seeing your tasks through this lens helps draw clear lines between what deserves your time and what simply steals it. Additionally, you can apply the batching technique to boost efficiency. Instead of scattering your attention across emails, messages, and admin tasks throughout the day. Group similar tasks and tackle them in dedicated blocks. This drastically reduces mental switching and helps you maintain deep focus, a vital condition for achieving breakthrough productivity. Your brain needs time to warm up and lock into focus, and every time you switch tasks, you're interrupting that state. One simple yet powerful tool for sustaining focus is the Pomodoro technique. Working in 25-minute intervals with 5-minute breaks and a longer rest after every 4 cycles. This deliberate time boxing helps your brain stay alert, reduces procrastination, and builds a consistent rhythm of productivity. Because true success doesn't come from short-term bursts, but from the ability to repeat the right things steadily over time. An essential element of smart time management is protecting your mental space and workspace from distractions. Set new boundaries with digital devices. Turn off non-essential notifications, limit social media usage, and allocate specific times for communication instead of reacting to every incoming message. Your mind cannot grow in depth if it's constantly pulled to the surface. Create quiet zones in your day, time for deep thinking, creative work, or simply reconnecting with yourself. And finally, what matters most is not the technique you use, but your mindset of intentional living. Smart time management isn't a tool for doing more, it's a pathway to becoming more aware. So you can choose what's worth doing, when it's worth doing, and which mental state is worth preserving. When you live this way, you realize that every moment can be valuable, not because you're doing a lot, but because you're fully present and clear on what you're doing it for. Don't wait until you have more time, because that moment will never come. Instead, start by giving value to the time you already have. Just by choosing the right thing to do at the right time with full focus, you're already ahead of 90% of people. Remember, success doesn't come from doing it all. It comes from knowing what's truly worth dedicating your time, your energy, and your life to. And when you do that, you won't just succeed faster. You'll live lighter, deeper, and with more meaning. Each passing hour will no longer be a vague dash in your timeline, but a deliberate stroke in the masterpiece you are creating for yourself. There's a well-known illustration often mentioned when talking about priorities. A glass jar, a few large rocks, small pebbles, and sand. If you pour the sand in first, there will be no room for the big rocks. But if you place the big rocks in first, then add the pebbles and sand, everything finds its place. This is not just a metaphor, it's a life principle. A principle that, once truly understood, frees you from the feeling of living someone else's life, from being swept away by the rhythm of the outside world. Instead, it grounds you with clarity, intention, and direction, because you now know what your big rocks truly are. But to choose the right priorities, you must first confront the truth. Not everything is equally important. And the biggest challenge doesn't lie in lack of time or resources. It lies in your unwillingness to let go of the mediocre. When you're unclear about what is essential, you end up trying to do everything, please everyone, meet every expectation, and in doing so, you lose yourself in things that seem necessary, but are really just distractions. That's why choosing the right priorities is not a task, it's a reset. It's the art of living intentionally instead of reactively. Begin with a simple question. What am I truly aiming for? This question alone can uncover how much of what you consider important is actually what society, family, or your environment has projected onto you when you write down your true life goals. Whether that's lasting health, meaningful work, a close-knit family, deep wisdom, or inner peace, you finally have a solid basis to determine what deserves your absolute attention and what should be left behind or postponed. Prioritization is not about adding more things to your to-do list. It's the brave act of crossing out dozens of good things to preserve a few essential ones. Because even a good thing done at the wrong time can lead you astray. An important task pursued in the wrong context can become a burden rather than a gift. Wisdom lies in aligning the right action with the right timing and the right goal. Picture yourself standing before 5 doors, each one representing an essential area of life: work, family, health, learning, and spirit. You can't open all doors wide and still move forward steadily. So, which door deserves your deepest focus right now? You don't have to abandon the others, but you must choose the order. Because your energy is finite, and when it's spread too thin, you lose your leverage. Right prioritization means daring to do less but go deeper. It means choosing to spend 1 quality hour with your child, your parents, or your own inner self, rather than 3 hours distracted and rushed. It means having the courage to say no to an enticing project so you can keep your promise to rest, to recover, to your mental well-being. It means asking, if I don't do this, will something truly bad happen? And realizing that many things that seem urgent really don't deserve a place in your life. Here's a simple practice to help you identify your big rocks. Write down everything you are doing or planning to do this week. Then circle the 3 tasks that, if completed, would make you feel proud, relieved, and closer to becoming the person you want to be. Those 3 tasks are your priorities. The rest, if unnecessary, should be postponed, delegated, or eliminated. Because life does not reward those who do the most, it rewards those who do the right thing. To maintain clarity in your priorities each day, build a habit of morning goal checking. Before diving into any task, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to my long-term goal? If the answer is no, don't let it steal your prime hours. Push it aside or cut it out entirely. This won't just save your time, it will protect your spirit from pointless energy drains. Choosing priorities is also a lesson in responsibility. When you prioritize something, you're taking deep ownership of it. You agree not to make excuses, not to delay, not to shift the blame. That's a powerful commitment to yourself. Over time, this commitment becomes a way of life, where you no longer chase everything, but guide yourself intentionally toward what matters most. But remember this, prioritizing doesn't mean living rigidly. It's not pressure or limitation. On the contrary, it's a deep form of freedom. The freedom that comes from no longer being ruled by others, by expectations, or by fear of missing out. You know what you're living for, and that clarity is your greatest strength. When you place the big rocks into your jar first, the smaller things will naturally find their place. And if they don't, you'll learn to let them go without regret. Finally, ask yourself once more, what is the one thing that if left undone today, you would regret for the rest of your life? What is the one thing that, if completed, would make you feel proud, fulfilled, and truly move forward? That is your priority. That is your big rock. And when you place that first, each passing day will no longer feel like a chain of reactions, but like deliberate steps forward, steady and meaningful. Because a life worth living begins with a mind that knows exactly what's worth living for. And when you live this way, everything else will naturally fall into place. We live in an era where productivity is often misunderstood. People boast about how many hours they work, how many tasks they check off their to-do lists, using them as symbols of success. But when the office door closes, there's something many won't admit. They're tired, depleted, and sometimes they don't actually feel like they're moving forward. Doing more doesn't always mean achieving more. Being busy is not proof of being effective. And if you've ever felt like you're carrying the world on your shoulders but not making any real progress, it's time for a new approach, one where you do less but accomplish more in deeper and more sustainable ways. To get there, you must return to a core principle. Not all tasks create equal value. Among the dozens of things you could do each day, only a few, very few, actually contribute to your greatest results. When you learn to identify, prioritize, and focus your full energy on those few things, you will uncover a calming truth. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things. And that simple shift will unlock a new level of productivity, one where you no longer need to push harder, yet achieve far more meaningful outcomes. So, how do you begin? First, identify the high-impact work. Ask yourself, if I could only do one thing today, what would bring me closest to my long-term goal? That is the task you must prioritize. Don't let urgency deceive you. Urgent things aren't always important. A phone call, a message, a sudden request from someone else shouldn't dictate the rhythm of your day. You must be the one setting that rhythm. By carving out time and energy for the work that creates sustainable impact. Next, learn to categorize your tasks. Not every task requires the same level of focus. Some can be done when your energy is low. Others demand full alertness and deep concentration. Schedule your most impactful work during your golden hours, the time of day when your brain functions at its best. This may seem simple, but it creates a noticeable difference because when you do the right task at the right time, you don't need a strain. Productivity flows naturally and completely. A highly effective strategy to boost productivity without burning out is task batching, grouping similar tasks into one uninterrupted time block. This minimizes context switching, which drains more energy than we often realize. Each time you switch from task A to task B, your brain needs time to adjust. If you bounce from emails to meetings to reports to messages, you not only waste time, you also deplete your precious attention span. By batching similar work, checking emails at fixed times, scheduling meetings in the afternoon, and doing creative work in the morning, you protect your mental flow and minimize distractions. In addition, know when to automate or delegate. Some tasks you keep doing simply because you feel you should, but in truth, they don't require your personal involvement. Ask, does this task really need me to do it? Is there a faster, easier, lower effort way to get this done? Repetitive tasks can often be systematized, automated, or handed off. Productivity doesn't come from doing everything yourself. It comes from focusing on what you do best and letting the rest be handled as efficiently and effortlessly as possible. Another key principle for doing less and achieving more is respecting your own energy limits. You are not a machine. You are human, with rhythms, cycles, and moments when you need to recharge. Allow yourself to rest when needed. Create quiet moments in your day to sit still, breathe deeply, read a page of a book, or simply disconnect and return to yourself. In those moments of not doing, your body and mind are quietly restoring the energy you'll need for your next leap forward. Rest is not a luxury. It is an essential part of sustainable productivity. Another way to maintain high performance without exhaustion is to regularly reassess your system. Weekly, look back. What tasks created visible results? Which ones left you drained with no return? Be courageous enough to remove what no longer fits. Streamline your workflow. Don't cling to routines just because they're familiar. Simplicity is not about having less. It's about being stronger through clarity and conscious selection. Finally, I want you to remember this. No one measures your worth by how many tasks you complete each day. What sets you apart is the quality of what you create, the meaning you bring, and the freedom you experience while living and working. When you have the courage to stop, to cut back, and to focus on doing just a few things really well, you will realize something profound. You don't have to do more to become more valuable. You simply need to do less. With focus, mindfulness, and strategy to produce results without sacrificing yourself. That is true productivity. That is achievement without depletion. And that is also the path to not only working better, but living more fully, more clearly, and more freely each day. So start today, not by adding more to your list, but by crossing off what doesn't matter. And in the space that opens up, you will find not only your most powerful productivity, but also a profound sense of lightness, clarity, and purpose waiting to carry you forward. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to keep moving forward steadily and quietly while you keep spinning in cycles of fleeting motivation that comes and goes? Have you ever felt like you know exactly what you need to do, but just can't stick with it long enough to see results? It's not because you're weak. It's not because you lack determination. It's because you haven't truly befriended one silent but life-shaping force: habit. Every day you live is a small record of the habits you repeat, from how you start your morning, how you respond under stress, to how you end your day. These behaviors, whether big or small, whether you notice them or not, quietly accumulate, layer by layer, shaping the person you are becoming. And the most important truth is this: you don't need to do something extraordinary in one day. You just need to repeat the right thing every day. But here's the reality. Building good habits is never easy. It requires overcoming that innate urge for comfort, ease, and instant gratification. Good habits often come with resistance at first because they demand change. They ask you to wake up earlier than usual, to put down your phone when you're lost in social media, or to step into the gym when your body would rather stay in bed. But it's precisely in those moments of resistance that true growth begins. You don't change your life through a grand decision. You change it by consistently repeating small right actions despite how you feel in the moment. The first thing you need to understand is this: habits are not about willpower. They're about design. Don't rely on feeling inspired to take action. Inspiration comes and goes like the weather, but habits, once built properly, will carry you forward even when motivation disappears. The secret is to start small. So small that you can't make an excuse not to do it. If you want to start reading daily, don't force yourself to read 30 pages. Start with 5 minutes, but do it consistently. If you want to work out, don't start with a 1-hour session. Begin with a few simple exercises in the first 10 minutes of the day, but do them every day. When you start small, you send a signal to your brain that I am a person who takes action, and from there you build momentum. Another critical factor in maintaining habits is your environment. Don't rely solely on willpower. Make your environment your ally. If you want to sleep early, don't keep your phone by the bed. If you want to eat healthily, don't stock your drawers with junk food. Simplify the path to positive behaviors and make negative behaviors harder to access. We are drawn to what's familiar, easy, and within reach. So restructure your living space, schedule, and surroundings so they naturally steer you toward good habits. And don't forget something deeply human. You will have off days. You'll skip a workout, miss your reading time, or overeat. That doesn't put you back at square one. What matters most is how quickly you return. A sustainable habit doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. Consistency comes from understanding that every time you get back up after slipping, you're building trust with yourself. And that self-trust, once strong enough, will take you further than any promise you ever made during a moment of inspiration. A simple yet powerful tool to help you stay on track is daily habit tracking. Use a small notebook, an app, or even a sheet of paper taped to the wall. Mark each time you complete your habit. Over time, those check marks will form an unbroken chain, and you won't want to break it. Not because of pressure, but because you begin to love the feeling of consistency. You begin to realize each time you stick to your habit, you're keeping a promise to yourself. Finally, remember, what you do repeatedly becomes your identity. You don't become a writer overnight, but after hundreds of quiet mornings where you typed your first words. You don't become healthy after one hard workout, but after choosing to move your body each morning. You don't find peace after one meditation, but after dozens of times choosing to return to your breath instead of chasing chaos. And you don't become a better version of yourself just because you wish for it, but because you live within a strong system of habits, day by day, step by step. So if you're truly seeking change, don't start with a goal that's too big. Start with a small habit. One right habit, repeated. Rebuild your life from the foundation up, because in the end, it's the things you do daily, quietly, consistently, intentionally, that define who you are and how far you'll go. No need for extraordinary effort, just the right system of habits and a patient heart willing to stay the course. And then you'll see everything you desire isn't waiting for tomorrow, it's forming, bit by bit, within the way you choose to live today. There is a kind of power that is quiet, unassuming, yet strong enough to shift the course of an entire life. It doesn't come from explosive passion or sudden luck. It comes from within you, from an inner strength you've always had but rarely fully tapped into, the power of focus. In a world that grows increasingly noisy, where your attention is constantly shredded by 100 urgent yet meaningless distractions, your ability to sit still, to quiet your mind, and to give your full attention to one thing is not just a competitive edge. It is a profound way of living, deeper, more effective, and inherently free. Focus is when you're no longer pulled by blinking notifications or fleeting thoughts that make you stand up and sit down without realizing why. Focus is when you choose to be fully present in this moment with the one thing you are doing, and you do it with complete attention, care, and passion. No drifting, no multitasking, no half-hearted efforts. And in that state where fragmentation vanishes, you begin to touch a different quality of life, one of presence, of depth, of true progress. If you've ever read a book where just a few lines made the noise around you disappear, or worked so immersed that you forgot time existed, that is true focus. And I want you to know you can cultivate that state every day. Not by forcing yourself, but by training your attention like a muscle. And just like any muscle, focus only becomes stronger when you train it regularly and intentionally. The first step to doing this is understanding distraction is not random, it's a programmed mechanism. Every time you're distracted, your brain isn't resting, it's chasing instant gratification. That's why you pick up your phone just for a second and end up scrolling for half an hour, forgetting what you were even about to do. To regain focus, you can't rely on discipline alone. You need to redesign your environment to minimize distractions from the start. Start by clearing your workspace. A clean, uncluttered desk with only the essential sends a signal to your brain, here, I do one thing, and only one thing. Turn off non-essential notifications, keep your phone out of sight, and use tools like website blockers during focus hours. You don't need stronger willpower, you just need to remove temptation at the root. Next, create deep focus windows. Periods when you allow yourself to do only one task with your full presence. Set a timer for 30 to 45 minutes, and during that time, do nothing else. Don't check emails. Don't reply to messages. Don't switch tasks just for a minute. Those small interruptions are what kill your mental flow, the very state that lets you accomplish far more in far less time. Focus not only helps you work more effectively, it helps you live more deeply. When you truly listen to someone, your relationship with them strengthens. When you read a great book with full attention, you don't just absorb knowledge, you experience mental expansion. When you walk, eat, or breathe with presence, you're not just doing routine things. You are recharging and nourishing your inner life. Focus is how you reconnect with yourself, gently but powerfully. One important reminder, don't confuse focus with tension. True focus is when you enter a natural flow with your task, when your mind no longer wanders. It's not rigid, it's not forced, it's like you're dissolving into the act itself, and everything else fades away. To reach that state, you may need to warm up your mind through a few minutes of meditation, deep breathing, or brain dumping distracting thoughts onto paper before starting deep work. When the mind is cleared, focus comes naturally. And don't forget, focus is a trainable state. Every day, set aside a short block of time, even just 20 minutes, to do something with absolute attention. It could be writing, studying, reading, working, or simply sitting quietly with a warm cup of tea. Train your mind to know, right here, right now, I choose to be present. And over time, you'll find yourself diving deeper, staying longer, and creating with more clarity than ever before. Here's the miracle. When you focus deeply, you no longer need to rush. You don't need to do more. You don't need to race. Because even a single deeply focused action, repeated consistently, can take you further than a long to-do list filled with fragmented efforts. You begin to slow down, not to delay, but to listen, to refine, to pour all your strength into what truly matters. That is why I want you to start building a life with a rhythm of focus. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to last all day. Just make sure that each day you carve out one still space, one anchor point where you are truly present. Step by step, you'll feel everything shift. Your work becomes more effective, your mind more centered, your creativity more vivid, and more profoundly, you'll realize you truly can achieve anything as long as you focus long enough on the right thing. Because in a world that constantly divides your attention, the one who holds their focus is the one walking the shortest path to transformation. And that transformation doesn't come from speed, but from the depth you're willing to go. With focus, you don't just work better, you live more fully. And that is what real success looks like. In the journey of personal growth, there's an often overlooked truth. We spend too much time trying to fix our weaknesses and forget that true power lies in maximizing our strengths. It's not about ignoring flaws. It's about recognizing that when you tap into your core strengths, you don't need to compete with anyone. You only need to be yourself, sharpened, clear, and empowered. And the beauty is, when you operate within your natural zone of genius, you go further with less effort because you're flowing with your inner current instead of swimming against it. Your strengths are the things you do well naturally. They are those moments when you enter a space and don't need to prove anything because you feel at ease, confident, and inspired. They're the things you could do for hours without feeling drained. There, when others say, "You make that look so easy," and you smile because you know you're not forcing anything. You're just being you. Sadly, many of us grow up believing we must fix our weaknesses to become perfect. But here's the truth. You don't need to be good at everything. You just need to be exceptional at the few things you're naturally gifted in, passionate about, and intrinsically motivated to grow in. Why spend your life trying to make a weakness average when you could make a strength extraordinary? To begin leveraging your strengths, start by observing yourself. Ask, among everything I've done, what made me feel energized and at ease? What do people often compliment me on? Something I consider normal. When I feel most alive, what am I usually doing? These answers will begin to reveal fragments of your natural talents, the inner zone where, if you invest time and structured practice, you'll create remarkable value without exhausting yourself. Once you identify your strengths, the next step is placing them in the right place at the right time and in the right way. Someone with the ability to persuade shouldn't force themselves into dry data analysis. Someone with strong intuition doesn't need to function like a machine built only for procedures. When you do the right work, the work aligned with your internal architecture, you not only work faster and better, but you experience deeper meaning in every moment. And this is the secret to sustainable productivity. True productivity comes from the resonance between strength and purpose, not from sacrifice or strain. When you live from your strengths, you don't have to push so hard to get results. You're not being drained because the work itself replenishes you. And when your strengths lead the way, you don't follow someone else's path, you walk your own, with confidence free from comparison or doubt. However, to truly maximize your strengths, you need to turn them into real abilities, not just untapped potential. That means consistent, strategic, committed practice. Someone may have a talent for writing, but without daily effort, they'll never produce a meaningful piece. Someone may be a natural leader, but without learning to communicate, facilitate, and listen, they'll remain just promising. Strength, if left untrained, is a missed opportunity. A practical step to begin: write down your 3 strongest traits. After observing yourself, asking others, or using tools like StrengthsFinder or MBTI. Then ask the critical question: am I living and working in alignment with these strengths every day? If not, explore how you might realign your role, career direction, or daily schedule to prioritize these strengths, make them the central filter for your decisions, and you'll notice everything becomes lighter, deeper, and more effective. Also, don't forget to combine your strengths with the strengths of others. No one excels at everything, but when you know how to connect and collaborate wisely, you create a personal ecosystem where each person operates in their zone of genius. That's when you stop working alone and start building collective value. And in that world, there's no comparison, only support, synergy, and mutual growth. Leveraging your strengths is also a journey of deep self-acceptance. It's the moment you bravely say, I don't need to be good at everything. I just need to thrive where I shine brightest. And that doesn't limit you. It sharpens you. It focuses you. It gives you influence more powerful than any scattered effort ever could. You don't need to move faster than others. You just need to move more authentically, in alignment with your true nature, your unique energy, and the path you were born to walk. And that begins with a quiet but powerful decision: I will live and work from my strengths. When you do that, you'll discover this: greatness doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from choosing the right thing to invest in, with deep self-awareness and a powerful trust in what you do best. And then you'll realize going far doesn't require twice the effort. It only requires one subtle mastery: knowing how to place your strength in the right place at the right task at the right moment. And from that alignment, a life of true effectiveness, depth, and sustainability will begin to take shape. Not because you do everything, but because you do the one thing only you can do best. There are moments in life when you feel like you have to brace yourself against everything: piles of work, unmet goals, expectations from others, and the critical voice inside your own head. In those moments, you try to appear strong, in control, composed, but deep inside, maybe you're tired. And if that's a feeling you've ever experienced, I want to tell you this: you don't have to fight alone. Success is not meant to be a solitary journey. True, sustainable growth doesn't come from sheer individual effort, but from a well-designed, supportive environment. A place where you are encouraged, reminded, inspired, and allowed to walk without feeling alone. A supportive environment doesn't just happen. It's an ecosystem built with intention. And you have every right to create it consciously, starting from your physical space to your relationships, and even deeper, the mental and emotional energy you choose to nourish each day. Every element around you, even the smallest, silently influences the quality of your thinking, actions, and emotions. So if you're serious about change, don't just focus on changing yourself. Begin by redesigning your environment. Start with your physical space: a tidy desk, a bright and airy room, natural light, a quiet corner for deep thinking. These may seem simple, but they play a crucial role in sustaining focus and inspiration. In contrast, a cluttered, stifling space filled with distracting devices will drain your energy and lead you into unconscious habits that rob you of presence. It doesn't have to be elaborate, just create a space that makes you want to enter it, create value in it, and return to it when you feel unsteady, and you've already taken an important step. But environment is more than just physical. The most important environment is people. Who are you around every day? The people you talk to regularly, do they boost your belief in yourself or drain your energy? Do they remind you of your better self or make you doubt everything you're pursuing? A positive relationship can lift you with just a glance, a word, a warm presence. But a negative relationship can gently, quietly pull you off course. And that's far more dangerous than it appears. So be brave enough to reselect the people you allow into your mental space. It's not about cutting people off. It's about adjusting proximity. Move closer to those who uplift and step back from those who pull you down. Seek people who inspire you to live kindly, persistently, and with intention. Build a human ecosystem around you, someone to share with, someone to learn from, someone to walk beside. Maybe you don't have them all yet, but you can begin to seek them out, starting with a sincere check-in, a moment of vulnerability, a connection free of pretense. At the same time, you must create an internal environment, a mental and emotional atmosphere that cultivates focus and peace. Start by limiting the streams of input you allow in each day. Social media, negative news, judgment-filled conversations, all of these can be mental toxins if you don't actively filter them. Instead, nourish yourself with what is calm, meaningful, and valuable. A page from a book, an inspiring video, a healing piece of music, or just a few minutes sitting quietly and breathing deeply. You can't pour clean water into a glass full of debris. Empty the glass. And from there, you'll have space to receive what is clearer, stronger, and more nourishing. A supportive environment also comes from how you structure your time. Don't overpack your schedule. Don't live at a pace that suffocates. Leave open spaces in your week, moments where you pause, review your path, and reconnect with your core intentions. These spaces are not wasted. They are breathing rooms that prevent you from drowning in triviality. They are time to regenerate energy, recalibrate priorities, and recommit to your inner promise. And finally, remember, you don't need to prove anything to the world. You only need to create an environment where you feel free to be yourself, without defensiveness, pressure, or the need to become someone else. Every step will feel lighter when you have something to lean on. Every decision will become clearer when you're not clouded by external noise. And every day will feel more meaningful when you know you don't have to walk alone. Take a look at your living space, review the connections surrounding you, and ask yourself, am I living in an environment that truly supports my growth? If not, start changing it one small thing at a time, one conscious step at a time. Because you deserve an environment that nurtures, not depletes. And because life is not a battle you have to fight alone, you have the right to ask for support. You have the right to redesign your space so that you can grow into exactly who you are meant to become. And sometimes a small shift in your environment is all it takes to reignite the journey you thought had been lost. There's a quiet but profound truth that everyone eventually realizes. No matter how hard you try, your life cannot be separated from the people you choose to walk alongside. Every relationship, whether fleeting or long-lasting, leaves a mark. Some people enter your life and make you believe more deeply in yourself. Others stay but slowly erode your self-worth, optimism, or even the dreams you once held close. So if you truly want to live a meaningful and effective life, it's not enough to choose the right work. You must also curate your relationships, investing in those who are truly worthy of you. We are often taught to be forgiving, sociable, and open to everyone, but forgiveness does not mean allowing others to violate your boundaries. Sociability doesn't mean offering your energy unconditionally. And openness doesn't mean everyone has a right to stay in your life. Life doesn't require you to please everyone. It only asks that you be clear-eyed enough to see some relationships are meant only for a season, and some people you must learn to let go. Gently, without bitterness, without regret. Start by reassessing your current relationships. Ask yourself honestly, who makes you feel stronger after every conversation? Who reminds you of the person you aspire to be? Who truly listens to you, allows you to be fully yourself without defenses? And on the other hand, who leaves you drained, constantly explaining yourself, feeling judged, compared, or diminished? This is not a matter of emotion, it's a matter of energy. You have a limited amount of energy each day, and it must be invested in connections that uplift, not deplete. A true friend doesn't always agree with you, but they are always on your side. They are honest when needed, gentle when required, and always make you feel safe in their honesty. A toxic relationship, even when disguised in politeness, familiarity, or obligation, still erodes you slowly until one day you no longer recognize yourself. And often, the hardest part isn't identifying the toxic connection. It's accepting the truth that you need to let it go. Maybe it's a childhood friend, a relative, someone who once meant everything to you, but people change. And not everyone who was good to you in the past is meant to go with you into the future. If a relationship no longer helps you grow in thought, in feeling, in spirit, then holding on to it, regardless of the label, only holds you back. Curation isn't betrayal. It is an act of loyalty to your own growth. So who should you invest in? Invest in the people who make you want to become a better version of yourself, in those who share your core values, who truly empathize, who know how to listen and say the right thing at the right time, in those who are not just there when you succeed, but remain when you're hurting, uncertain, or doubting yourself. These people are rare. But once you find them, protect those relationships with sincerity, patience, and consistency. Because the quality of your relationships reflects the quality of your life. Don't chase quantity. In this age of instant connection, you may have thousands of followers, hundreds of likes, but still feel alone in your own room. That's because real presence doesn't come from numbers. It comes from depth. One true friend, one wise mentor, one life partner with shared ideals can offer more value than a sea of shallow acquaintances. Invest in that depth. Make time for unhurried conversations, hugs that need no reason, and connections where you don't have to pretend to be perfect. And never forget, meaningful relationships begin with you. You can't expect others to give what you're not yet ready to offer. So become the kind of person you'd want to be around. Learn to listen without judgment, to share without manipulation, to love without possession. When you live with a heart that is kind and whole, you will naturally attract those who vibrate on the same frequency. And your inner world, when nourished properly, will become the cradle where true relationships are born and grow. But remember, you are the average of the people you spend the most time with. If you're surrounded by negativity, you will be pulled down. If you're around mediocrity, you will stay stuck. But if you choose to be near those with willpower, depth, and accountability, you will be lifted, not through theory, but through the living energy they radiate, an energy that will quietly reshape the way you think, feel, and act every day. So be brave enough to sift through the contact list of your life. No need for drama. Just start today by giving more of your time, attention, and emotion to the people who truly uplift your journey. And at the same time, withdraw your energy from the places that no longer belong to you. This will become easier over time. And you'll realize when you choose wisely, you don't lose anything. You're simply preserving what matters most for a life that you have every right to live with clarity, intention, and fullness. Throughout your journey, you've probably been fed a common belief. To succeed, you must sacrifice. Sacrifice your health, your peace, your time with yourself and your loved ones. That if you want to go far, you must accept living in constant stress, sacrificing sleep, skipping meals, delaying joy, and putting aside personal emotions. But if you've ever walked that path, you've likely realized this. Success without serenity is like standing alone atop a mountain. There is height, but there is no happiness. In truth, success and serenity are not opposites. They're not two extremes forcing you to choose one. On the contrary, they are the two vital breaths of a fulfilling life. One directed outward into the world through action, effort, and results, and one directed inward through stillness, connection, and deeper meaning. When you learn to harmonize these two breaths, you won't just live more efficiently. You'll live more wholly, moving forward without losing yourself along the way. So what is a balanced life? It's not about evenly dividing time across everything. It's not about trying to do it all or expecting perfection in every area. True balance is the ability to deeply listen to yourself, to know when to advance and when to pause, to know there are times to sprint with all your might and times to sit quietly, breathe, and restore. Balance is when you can schedule that important meeting, but also schedule a quiet afternoon with tea or an evening doing nothing but listening to music, reading, and coming home to yourself. Balance is also knowing what deserves priority in each season. You can't keep all things equal at all times, but you can choose the right moments to devote energy to specific areas: work, family, health, learning, spirituality, without letting one dominate the rest. This alternation, when arranged with care and awareness, keeps you grounded on the inside, even when the outside world shifts constantly. A crucial truth to remember: balance is not laziness or lack of ambition. In fact, the most balanced people are often the most conscious in action and the most grounded in their dreams. They're not dragged by the fast pace of the world, but they don't hide in comfort zones either. They dare to step forward, but do so strategically. They work hard, but they listen to the signals from their body, mind, and emotions to adjust in time, because they know real value doesn't lie in how many things you do in a day, but in how many right things you do, with enough clarity, lightness, and presence to truly enjoy the outcome. One of the most powerful tools to establish balance is redesigning your personal schedule. Learn to layer your time: time for work, time for connection, time for rest, and time for soul renewal. Don't just schedule deadlines. Schedule stillness. Carve out pockets of time where you do nothing. No phone, no tasks, no updates. Just breathe, slow down, and feel the real rhythm of your being. This is not waste. This is investment in clarity, creativity, and long-term vitality. Also, examine how you define success. If your definition only revolves around money, status, or external recognition, you'll be trapped in an endless cycle, always feeling not enough, not worthy, not quite there. But if you define success as living in alignment with your values, doing meaningful work, and preserving peace within every step, then you'll see that you are already succeeding every day. No need to wait for a grand milestone or external validation. A balanced life is also one that connects to things that nourish the soul. It could be a family meal, an afternoon listening to your parents' stories, a well-timed hug, or simply the golden light at the end of a familiar street. When you allow yourself to touch these small, sacred things, you nurture a quiet but enduring kind of happiness. And from there, you'll find a deeper fullness, not because you have more than others, but because you cherish the right things in your life. Ultimately, balance is a daily choice. It doesn't come from a course, a retreat, or a one-time awakening. It comes from small, intentional, consistent decisions: eating a bit slower, speaking a bit less, disconnecting from technology a bit earlier, giving loved ones a bit more attention, tending to your sleep a bit more carefully. If those just a bit more actions are repeated day by day, you'll craft a life with rhythm. One where you're not swept away, but calmly in command. You don't have to choose between success and peace. You can have both. If you live with clear focus, make conscious choices, and treat each moment with respect. Let your life be not just a journey toward the peaks, but a celebration of every step along the way, with a calm heart, a clear mind, and a spirit strong enough to smile even when the storms come. Because in the end, a life truly worth living isn't measured by how fast you go, but by whether you can stay true to yourself along every stretch of the road. And when you master both, you're not just living, you are living fully.